Where?
There's no Jewish people in Palestine?
There's no Jewish people in Palestine.
Serious?
There is no Jewish people. Let's have a 1-minute conversation for a show. Are you pro-Palestine?
Yeah,
so why do you want to have a conversation? Why do you want to yell and you want to have a conversation? Huh?
Why haven't you killed yourself?
That's pretty inappropriate to say to someone in a public area. Hello, I'm your host Gal Kohavi, and we're here to look at memes and discover what's beneath them, what they reveal about the culture, and even to take a stand on some of them. Okay, so here's how Beyond Memes works. We look at memes and then do a deep dive on the underlying concepts of the meme by talking with strangers and doing some of our own investigations. Today we'll be covering the Israel-Palestine conflict, then we'll talk to students at UCLA, we'll cover the LA fires that have been completely forgotten about in the past few months, and then we'll go to the Palisades and talk more about it. Finally, we'll cover Elon Musk's Doge in the new presidency. Our first meme comes from r/Palestinian violence from UK Anthkeeper123 with the most relevant meme relating to the Westerners who support Palestine. So what the meme is portraying is a lovely lady with some nice hair that's a little bit colored, and she's holding a LGBT flag, and she seems to have been allegedly pushed off of a building. As some might say on the pro-Palestinian side, the tensions arose because of her identity, and she's falling off of the building, and it's not really a laughing matter, but let's read some of the comments. I was at a LGBT rights march, and they occasionally did pro-Hamas chants. I was pissed because they could not mix two unrelated issues unless the event was set up that way, and Hamas would kill them all before breakfast. I think it's a pretty fair assessment. Hamas would probably kill them all before breakfast, unless of course it's Ramadan. Then they would just kill them without eating breakfast. I don't mean to disparage people for no reason. It's just that I think that someone who's pro-gay and pro-Palestine, it's a very oxymoronic position. Over 95% of the people in the Palestinian territories don't accept gay behavior. Rational_overthinker says chickens for KFC, and then K.A. Neget says cows for McDonald's, and I had to be a little bit extra careful on the pronunciation there. So yeah, the chickens for KFC, cows for McDonald's. It's a classic meme here where we have the chicks that are advocating for LGBT, and then we have the actual chickens that are advocating for KFC. These are two different groups, and I want to create some real distinctions here because these chicks are studying gender studies, and of course the chickens are still undeclared. They're focused on their career right now. Laying eggs is a huge priority for them. And also with the chickens that are advocating for KFC, at least they're actually ending up in KFC. I've seen many of them in a bucket. But we don't see the people that are pro-Hamas in Gaza. So there is a bit of an asymmetry there. I'd be curious to see how can you even contest me? How can you even defend your position as a pro-Palestinian? I'm really curious to hear from people.
All right, so we looked at memes, and it's clear what my position is. I'm a proud Zionist, but I want to see what people at UCLA think. Obviously, there's many people on this campus that disagree with me, so let's check it out.
So I don't really support Israel and what's happening. I feel like what's happening is wrong, and it's essentially ethnic cleansing. The people deserve to have their land and not be pushed out of it.
So there's a couple of things you brought up there. First of all, I want to address the ethnic cleansing thing because I think it's a really common claim from the pro-Palestinian side that's really, really inaccurate. What you have in the Palestinian region, in Israel, in Gaza, and the West Bank, is that in 1948 there was around 700,000 Palestinians, and now there's around 7 million. So would you call it ethnic cleansing if like by a factor of 10 your population increases? Because ethnic cleansing is usually when you like decrease the population. I'll give you a good example of ethnic cleansing. In the Arabic countries surrounding Israel, there was 850,000 Jews in 1948. Now there's around less than 1,000. So in Iraq, where my dad is from, there was over 100,000 Jews in 1948. Now there's, less than 10, roughly. In Egypt, same situation, 80,000 Jews in 1948, now less than 10. So the Jews there lost the ability to buy property, they lost whatever rights they had to whatever they own, lost their jobs. So those Jews, I would say, were ethnically cleansed. But I think it's unfair to say Israel, which has 2 million Arabs within it, and in their last coalition in government had an Islamic group as part of their coalition. I think it's a little bit unfair to say it's ethnic cleansing when Arabs have completely equal rights under Israel, but there's 0 Jews in the Gaza Strip, 0 Jews in West Bank areas A and B. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. And probably I'm not as educated as I should be. In all honesty, I see these people like suffering, they're starving, there's no food. Maybe I should be further educated, but from what I view, I just don't support the way that this war is being handled, if you could call it a war.
Right. I think I would call it a war, actually, because Hamas launched an attack on October 7th, unprovoked. Israel pulled out the Gaza Strip 20 years earlier. They attacked people indiscriminately. They killed civilians. They burned babies. I think I would call that a war that was launched by Hamas. Israel doesn't want a war. There was no war on October 6th.
Yeah, I understand that there was an attack, and that was horrible. But the power that is being held between the people Palestine and then the amount of power that the people in Israel have and the firepower that they have in general, it's like firecrackers and then actual war weapons. The power imbalance is moreover, it's unfair to the people who didn't do that, who aren't part of Hamas, and who are just blindly being attacked and being pushed out of their homes and being...
Just to clarify, over 1,000 of the people that invaded Israel on October 7th were also Gazan civilians. So there was tons of Gazan civilians that also entered Israel. It wasn't just Hamas. And also the majority of people in Gaza still support the attack on October 7th. And let's not forget that they were democratically elected in 2006. So I think it's a little bit unfair to like create a huge distinction. Hamas is deeply embedded within the population. The power imbalance as well. It's a pretty unfair point to say that because there's a huge power imbalance, we should be totally for the side that's weaker. I'll give you a good example. In World War II, Germany ended up losing. Does that mean that we should have been on Germany's side? Like when they were being bombed by Britain and the US, should we have been on Germany's side? They were being overpowered. They were being oppressed. The Germans in World War II were being oppressed. Should we have been on their side?
I think I should probably be further educated on the mattering itself.
Huh?
Why haven't you killed yourself?
That's pretty inappropriate to say to someone in a public area. All right. Yeah. So I just want to make it clear for the audience. Save the bees, but me, a random person, just because I disagree with him, should kill myself. Just to be clear.
Have you seen what's happening in Palestine and in Gaza?
What are you referring to exactly?
The bombings, the killing of innocent children. You want to see a video?
Sure. Do you want to see a video of what Hamas did on October 7th that incited that violence?
Do you want to see the history of Israel inciting sanctions on Palestine for years before that, since like the 60s? You have any idea what you're talking about, or are you just like grifting right now?
Okay, so what are you talking about? So 1967, okay. Israel launched a war, the Six-Day War, right? They took the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Do you know who had the Gaza Strip and the West Bank before
Hamas?
then? No.
Who?
Jordan had the West Bank.
Okay.
Egypt had Gaza Strip.
So
what are you referring to when you say that there were sanctions on the Palestinian people in the 60s, when the idea of a Palestinian was created in 67?
I'm just saying the fact that these Palestinians are not able to live freely in their own country.
Why do you say their own country when Judea and the Jewish people in that land is a 3,000-year-old concept, and Islam itself was founded thousands of years later?
So Israel, that land is theirs because God said it was 3,000 years ago?
No. There's archaeological evidence.
Okay,
we can look at the currency from thousands of years ago. It's a very established fact that there was a kingdom there before the Romans were even there, before the Christ era. In the year 700 of the Christ era, that's when Islam was created. That's over 1,100 years later. The war that was launched on October 7th, do you condemn the actions of Hamas on October 7th?
I condemn the right to fight back. I condemn the right to fight back.
The right to fight back against what? Resistance against what? Do you know that Israel pulled out of the Gaza Strip in 2005, which was 20 years before this? Do you have a response to that?
Do I have a response?
You said that it was a resistance, October 7th, coming in and raping and killing people indiscriminately, burning
what about
babies.
The Israel people
there was no provocation.
There was
no provocation.
There are children still dying to this
there
day
is
after the
children
ceasefire that
I don't like war. We can both agree we don't like war. We don't like civilians dying. I'm a proud Zionist because we're defending ourselves. We're defending ourselves.
Really?
Yes.
Innocent children and families being killed? I've seen videos. I watch it on Twitter. I fucking scroll. I see live footage.
I don't think innocent people dying is a good thing. I think the innocent people dying in the Gaza Strip. I think people dying in the Gaza Strip. Innocent people dying in the Gaza Strip. I think that blood is on Hamas's hands. Hamas launched an attack on October 7th unprovoked.
They're not allowed to have a government,
In 2005,
dude.
Israel pulled out of the Gaza Strip. What do you mean they're not allowed to have a government? They elected Hamas democratically in Gaza.
Who planted Hamas there?
Who planted Hamas? They were elected democratically.
Yeah, look up the fact that they were planted there years before. They were made by other forces.
Dude, what are you talking about? The majority of people in the West Bank still support the Hamas attacks on October 7th.
Of course, because that's all they have.
It was unprovoked. There was no one in the Gaza Strip for 20 years.
Dude, they don't have a military. They don't have a government. If they were allowed to have a military and a government, why would they just have a terrorist force? A fight back, a resistance force?
If your government is a terrorist group, that doesn't make them not a government. They have a governing body. It just is a terrorist organization.
Because they're not allowed to have anything
Who didn't allow them? They elected Hamas. They elected Hamas. Israel pulled out in 2005.
They're not allowed to
They hosted their own elections independently. They elected Hamas.
What do you think Hamas's goal is?
Hamas's goal in their charter, it states that they want to destroy Israel, and they're also against America as well.
You know there's Jewish people in Palestine?
Where?
There's no Jewish people in Palestine?
There is no Jewish people in Palestine. There is no Jewish people. There is 0 people in the Gaza Strip. There's 2 million Arabs in Israel. There is no Jews in the Gaza Strip.
None of them are Jews?
8,500 people were pulled out of Gush Katif in 2005 when Israel pulled out of the Gaza Strip. You can search that up.
I know Palestinian Jews.
Sure, search it up right now. You know one anecdote. The data is a bunch of anecdotes combined against your point to show that there is no Jews.
Get the f*** out of my face, bro.
Okay, sure. You know, when you're correct about something, you usually tell someone to get the fuck out of your face. That's how you know you're right. When you get emotional.
I just want people to get along. Safety for Israel, safety for all the subjects of that area. And that's that.
What do you think is the solution long term for the region?
Everything that we have done hasn't worked. It sounds crazy what Trump is proposing, but it might work. But only because everything else hasn't worked.
Yeah, right.
As long as it works, you know?
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Excuse me, would you like to have a 1-minute conversation for a show? Are you pro-Palestine?
Yeah,
So why do you want to have a conversation? Why do you want to yell and you want to have a conversation?
Oh, when you're yelling and walking away, that makes you correct about your position.
All right, so we've been recording and at the table for over an hour and a half, and I've went up to multiple people with keffiyehs, asking them to give me an opinion. No one's been able to give an opinion. They can lift up a picture of a hostage baby that was killed, but they can't give an opinion. They can yell from the river to the sea, but they can't give me a 1-minute opinion. Okay, next meme. Middle East meme says, I've solved the Israel-Palestine problem, and it is of course just a map of all of Israel, West Bank, Gaza Strip as a coalition called New America. Next meme, we got introducing my newest property, Gaza Lago. Gaza Strip renamed MAGA Strip, and the 51st state would be Israel. Well, yeah, I see where these memes are going. I give them a solid 6 out of 10. They're solid, but they're playing on, the same issues. But yeah, I think other than just changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, I think Trump can really go ahead and change more names, maybe some of the states. We gotta rename the states, we got tons of names. California, we gotta make it Melania. We can keep the Nia, we gotta change the California. We got Alaska, tremendous oil in Alaska. We gotta call it Oileska. We gotta make it better. We gotta make it a drilling state. Drill, baby, drill. And with Canada, they're eating the moose. We gotta get rid of the Canadians. We gotta get rid of everything, actually, because there's too many things. So the next segment is the memes that you love, but you can't like.
Say that again?
Why is there a fire happening right now?
There are multiple fires that are taking place.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's the news though, you're supposed to know.
Well, I don't know how it started. We don't know how it started. There,
I think
winds.
it's all the gay people in LA.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
We got the
unacceptable.
I love how he just comes up with so much matter-of-factness. It's just like, I think it's all the gay people in LA. Where does that come from? He just comes up to him, but look, this meme is offensive, which is why it's on the memes you love but can't like. It's the meme that you don't want to like publicly, which I am now doing. But there's a real question here is, does this meme fall above or below the Donald Trump diagonal? I'm glad you asked. Allow me to explain. A meme is allowed to be offensive as long as it's equally as funny. So if a meme is this offensive, it needs to be this funny because it has to be above the Donald Trump diagonal. You want the meme to be above this line. For example, Donald Trump will say, if Hillary Clinton can't satisfy her husband, then how can she satisfy America? Which is this offensive, but it's also this funny. So it falls above the diagonal. But he also said, why would Kim Jong-un call me old when I would never call him short and fat? Which is really, really offensive to a leader who has nuclear weapons. So I put it on this offensive, but it also was only this funny, which makes it below the Donald Trump diagonal. So the joke has to fall above the Donald Trump diagonal, which our Latino friend in this meme does with the, I think it's all the gay people in LA. It's very offensive, but because it's so funny, it's not so offensive that my future employers should watch this and have the wrong impression of me. Okay, next meme. It's a picture of our fire chief saying they don't know I'm a lesbian, while 2 people are saying the whole city is burning and some people are actually burning. This meme, while it's kind of funny, hits me on a personal note, really, because I'm from LA and I'm just like, you think this is funny? I'll show you the next video and you won't. This next video is real. It's Christine Larson, the assistant fire chief of LA, speaking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the fire department.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that.
Dude, it's the worst feeling when you're in a fire and you're burning alive and someone comes up to you and they don't even look like you. It's like, dude, how can you even relate to this position that I'm in? No, I don't want you to grab me and pull me out of here. What is this? Who needs to relate to anyone while being picked up from a fire? You know what pretty much all humanity has in common? None of us like to be in fires. 99% of people in a fire would rather not be in a fire. So please, if I'm in a fire, pick me up out of the fire and we'll talk later about diversity and stuff. Just, this is ridiculous.
Somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Her response is that he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire. Yes, believe it or not, the vast majority of people in fires are in the wrong place, because if you're in a fire, the best place to be is not in a fire. Because why are you asking for help if you're in the wrong place? Because you're a fire chief. So yes, I'm angry that someone would possibly ever say this. This is a real video. I'm serious. I thought this video was AI. It's just like, it's not. It's real and it's utterly insane. So here's Newsom on the phone and a girl comes up to him.
I'm not gonna hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do.
So an angry LA resident is coming up to Gavin Newsom and he tells her, I'm literally on the phone talking to the president right now to figure out what I can do for you. Now, keyword, I'm literally on the phone with the president right now. Keep watching.
Of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the...
I'm trying. It's just there's no connection here. I'm 100% bullshitting you right now, but I'm trying my best to get the call through, even though if you recall 2 seconds ago, I was also literally on the phone with the president. Literally, but not literally and not figuratively and not even close to reality because I'm on the phone with Angry Birds. If you're lying to someone's face, at least have some way of faking it. If you remember, Gavin Newsom is the same guy that lied when he was caught not wearing a mask during COVID, saying something about like, I was holding my breath. That's what he said. You're telling everyone to wear a mask, but you happen to be holding your breath when you were caught out not wearing it? Come on. This is ridiculous. And after all this, she has not taken responsibility. The actual fire chief has not taken responsibility for the fires. Gavin Newsom has not taken responsibility. Karen Bass has not taken responsibility. Who's responsible? I'm in LA. All my friends, everyone knew someone or themselves was evacuated. Why does nobody know what actually happened? Is it not embarrassing for no one to come forward and actually take accountability? These were the scenes coming out of the Palisades just a few months ago. I decided to drive to the Palisades to figure out more. Things like, why did the water start puttering out just 17 hours after the fire began? Here's Joe, a homeless worker who's helping people move out of their Palisades homes.
Tell me, what do you think caused these fires and what caused the inability to stop it?
The problem is all these houses, the way they're designed. The main cause of houses going down is gets up underneath the roof.
Did you hear about the water that was missing? What do you think about that?
That's kind of strange, but nothing in California surprises me anymore. Politicians, all politicians, they don't look out for us anymore. They're supposed to work for us, but they don't. That's the downfall. I was gonna say, okay, I'm gonna fix this. They don't do anything. You pay the money to fix it. They don't do it.
It seems to me that bureaucratic failure is what caused these fires and what prevented them from being stopped. Mass hiring based on race and gender as opposed to competence played a key role in the fumbling that occurred when these fires broke out. And DEI hasn't just caused issues with dealing with fires. Matt Walsh, who's a conservative pundit famous for having a horrible take on the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, also predicted that there would be an uptick in aircraft near misses and crashes this year. And what happened this year? Pretty much that. He goes on to outline why this has occurred, and frankly, it's unbelievable. The tests to become an ATC, an air traffic controller, have been massively reduced in difficulty in order to allow more people to be accepted. The tests used to ask questions about knowledge or experience or intelligence to try to weed out who would be a good air traffic controller. However, these questions were racist, apparently. And actually, the lawsuit that's being filed against the Air Traffic Control Commission claims that one of the questions that was recently asked on this test was, how many sports did you play in middle school PE? It's this kind of incessant DEI practices that filled our government-run organizations with incompetence. And I think California can expect fires. It happens periodically. When you can anticipate some type of natural havoc, you should be ready for it. And the bare minimum is to have water available, which California did not have, and LA did not have. Let's investigate further. Rick Caruso, who was the head of the LADWP, mentions what he thinks caused these fires.
What happened in Los Angeles, which is just close to negligence, if not negligence. Joe, the fire hydrants ran out. How in God's name, the second largest city in the country, can you have a water system that runs out of water in a fire? And you knew the fire, you knew this was coming. They gave warnings of catastrophic winds. You've got brush that hasn't been cleared for 40 years. There was a whole bunch of us raising hell about that after the fire in Brentwood 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing was done. You've got a fire department that's underfunded.
And then the mayor flies to Ghana.
And the mayor's out of town.
What should have been done? And who's responsible?
Well, I think the leadership is responsible at every level. I think the mayor's responsible for not being better prepared. If you want to be a leader, the first thing you have to do is be present. I think the reality has set in, and it's unfortunate it's taken this. You've got to have competent leadership. The general manager of Department of Water and Power was always somebody who came through the ranks, who was just this exceptional engineer, and that department was regarded as best in class in the country as a utility. It built some of the most amazing projects in history, including Hoover Dam. Politics creeped into who was the general manager. That destroys an organization. This is an organization that's not in the business of being necessarily doing what's politically important at the time. It's in the business of delivering water and power. The failure is also there. I don't understand how the current general manager of the department, but the kind of failure that's on her desk, where the buck stops, she needs to resign. She needs to be fired, but we're allowing this. And so the minute you allow that, that continues this creep of incompetence is tolerated. It shouldn't be tolerated because people lost their lives. They lost their homes.
So that's interesting stuff from Rick Caruso. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that hiring based on a discriminatory policy, which is what DEI is, hiring based on race, hiring based on sexuality, and hiring based on what type of genitalia you have, and not prioritizing competence, I feel like it's obvious that's gonna lead to some issues. Imagine being a white dude who's the most
most qualified person for a job and you get turned down just because you're the majority demographic in America. And for a job this important, it's just stupid. Can you imagine the reverse situation? People not being hired because they're black or because they're gay? It would be absurd. And that's exactly what DEI is. Absurd. In order to step up and properly lead our cities, our states, and our nation, we need to hire people based on how good they are at what they do and based on nothing else. And if we can't have those common sense practices, we can't guarantee that this will be prevented or stifled in the future. Okay, so speaking of DEI, let's check in with Elon Musk and what he's been doing with Doge and trying to dismantle it. Let's just take a look at what the key spenders were that they took out in the past few weeks. And I know this doesn't account for so much of the annual budget, but they're still very symbolic of a greater issue. US taxpayer dollars were going to be spent on the following items, all of which have been canceled. $10 million for Mozambique voluntary medical male circumcision. So wait, what? But they're canceling the circumcisions in Mozambique. Come on. I mean, Bakar wants to get circumcised, and now my taxpayer money is gonna go to what? Public schools in America? Where's my money gonna go? I don't understand. It's so annoying because we have so much extra money in America. I just don't understand. $40 million for gender equality and women empowerment. Huh? Oh my God, why would they cancel that? Dude, they canceled $14 million of American money for social cohesion in Mali. Why would you, this is essential things. $21 million of American money for voter turnout in India. I don't understand how we can cancel this. It's being taken away from the social fabric of South Africa, which is where I wanted my US taxpayer money to go to, overseas for inclusive democracies, which whatever that means, I'm on board. I heard the word inclusive and I'm down to just like burn money. Me personally, I am just angry. I'm angry at Elon because how could he possibly let this happen? Seriously, we need to be thinking about circumcisions in Mozambique. If people in Mozambique are just walking around totally hooded down there, I don't know what we're gonna do in terms of our deficit. We gotta circumcise these Mozambikians. Okay, on a serious note. Okay, so here's some more things that they've cut more recently. $42 million for Johns Hopkins to research and drive social and behavior change in Uganda. You had me at the circumcisions in Mozambique. I wanted those circumcisions, but if we have to cut that $10 million, I'm okay with that. I understand the US needs to protect some of its money. But if we're gonna cut the money from the social and behavior change in Uganda, to say I'm mad right now wouldn't even begin to describe what I'm going through. I'm very mad. Is a better description. Says Michael G, even the WEF is on the American taxpayer gravy train. Was there anything that the American taxpayer money wasn't funding? On a real note, why are we sending money to stupid stuff? We are high-key in a huge deficit and we owe a lot of money. And I think that the Doge is probably the best part of Trump's presidency so far. I think the cutting of the budget and the slimming down of the government is a great thing. So I'm happy that Trump has actually been in the office doing something. Well, folks, we've learned a lot today, from the students of UCLA to the delicious memes that we consumed and Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I'm very glad we did this first episode of Beyond Memes. But this is a brand new show, so I need you to subscribe. I need you to like this video, and I need you to share this video to as many friends as possible, and do all this right after I fade to black.